John chapter 8, verse 12, the Bible says, Then spake Jesus again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. And so we've been talking about that word again, and we talked about Monday how God will fix it again. Then we talked about Tuesday, He'll fix it, but we don't know how. And then Wednesday, we talked about how He's proven time and time again. And then today, I want to mention that He hasn't forgotten us. And you don't even need to say He hadn't forgotten you again because He never has. But God doesn't forget us. And by the way, He loves us and He died for us. And He hasn't forgot what He said in John 14 that the rapture is going to take place. Recently, the man that played in them Left Behind series says not only he don't believe in hell anymore, but he don't believe in a rapture. Well, he can believe what he wants, but the Bible hadn't changed. The Bible says that God's coming back for us, and Jesus will receive His bride. But God hadn't forgot us, and we're important to Him. You know, Ruth, her situation was pretty bad. It seemed like maybe she was abandoned. It seemed like her situation was pretty bad. But you know what? God had Boaz there to show up in her life, and he took care of Ruth, and they were fed and they were took care of. And you know, God's people seemed like they was in pretty bad shape there in the book of Esther, but God had a plan. He had Esther to show up. There was Esther and Mordecai, and God had a plan and took out that wicked Haman. Seemed like there was no hope. Seemed like maybe they were forgotten about. I don't remember how many times people in the Bible says, "God, have you forgotten me?" No, He hadn't forgotten us. I like what He says in Isaiah chapter 49. I like what He says there. I believe it's verse 15. He says, "Can a woman forget her suckling child, that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea, they may forget, yet will I not forget thee." Now, there are certain mothers out there that have children, they don't care about them, they forget about them. But a loving mother, one that cares about their children, they're not going to forget about their child. My wife, she's not going to forget about Matthew. As a matter of fact, when I'm watching them, she'll text me or call and say, "How's he doing?" She's not going to forget about him. She's not going to forget to feed him. She's not going to forget to change his diaper. She's not going to forget uh, to make the milk or whatever she has to do. Make sure he has clothes washed. She ain't gonna forget that. She's not gonna forget her child. And God says, "Look, you may be in a pretty bad situation, but I ain't forgot you." And just as a mother can't forget her child, God can't forget His child. He knows where you at. When He was on the cross, you were on His mind. When He died and paid for our sin, we were on His mind. We're on His mind right now. He thinks about us all the time. And one day He's going to come and bring us to where He's at. He has not forgotten us. And in our situation, in our trial, it seems like sometimes He has forgotten where He is. He hadn't showed up yet. But the thing is, He hasn't forgotten, and He is going to show up, and He is going to come through, and we just got to trust Him. I'm glad that He doesn't forget. We forget, but He doesn't forget. I know I forget. The other day, I forgot to bring a pen up there to the pulpit, and I said, "Is there any prayer requests?" And I said, "I don't have a pen." I said, "But I'll remember." And let me tell you something. I forget. So you know what I do? I said, "God, you heard those prayer requests." I said, "God, would you bring that back to my mind? Because I forget. I know you don't forget." And you know, He brought that back to my mind, those prayer requests. Miss Temple raised her hand, and then Alicia raised her hand for her grandma. You know, God brings that back to our mind. God, God brings everything back to our mind if we'll let Him. If we'll trust Him, He'll take care of us. He ain't forgot us. He ain't forgot us, and he ain't gonna start today.